Hi, everyone. Number one Marmaduke fan here. So, ever since I gave up the phone for a while, I noticed the number of comic book reviews I did tanked completely. And I've missed doing just quick, fun comic book reviews. I kept telling myself, oh, well, I'll do like a podcast and I'll dig into all the little details. But I think there's just something fun about sharing real quick thoughts on comic books I'm reading as they come out rather than waiting weeks or months and then it's kind of pointless because you can't get it anymore. So I'm looking at Star Wars Darth Vader issue 18. This is my favorite series for just consistently strong, well illustrated stories. Issue 18 is a standalone story. So if you haven't been reading Darth Vader, you could pick this one up, and Soul delivers just an excellent short story that is just a tribute to everything that makes Darth Vader a cool character. Giuseppe Camuncoli does layouts, which usually means like rough, loose breakdown pencils. And Danielle Orlandini did finishes, meaning she also kind of like refined the pencil drawings as she inked. And as a visual experience, I just found myself turning off the critical brain that looks for errors or cool things. I just got completely absorbed in the art and story. So what's neat about this is it has a twist at the end, but the twist isn't like, oh, what a twist. He's really his cousin. It's a twist that's more along the lines of giving you information about something that's going on that was withheld from you. So, Summa Spoiler, by the way, this is a high recommend. Actually, highest recommendation, I think, for Darth Vader number 18, if you're not picking it up. So, Grand Moff Tarkin, he was in the A New Hope. Leia said that he yanks Darth Vader's chain around, so he's clearly in a position of command over Darth Vader. He kind of goes out like a simp, they're getting the Death Star ready to fire. He says, "Stop now, a moment of triumph," and then the Death Star blows up. So what's interesting about this is it shows us some of the brilliance and the level of commitment it would take for Grand Moff Tarkin to rise as high as he did in the Empire. It's showing us his commitment and his tactical brilliance. So the setup is just Darth Vader's out alone. He's killed a beast and he's ripped off its wings and made it his cape. He doesn't have a lightsaber. And in the first couple pages of talkie things to catch you up, they also make Darth Vader look cool. So they don't just say he did a cool thing. They're showing us the cool stuff he did to get us up to this point. So even though it's a flashback and even though it's exposition, it's still exciting, cool stuff. So he can't manipulate fire using the Force. Okay, he breaks the flamethrowers with the Force. Another good thing about this series in general is that the character of Darth Vader is someone who is cool. He looks imposing. But when you think about him in A New Hope, he doesn't do too much. He says, I find your lack of faith disturbing. He gets in the dogfight with Luke. It's not really until Empire Strikes Back, where he just toys with Luke, that Darth Vader becomes this great, fearful presence in the mind of a young child watching Star Wars. So this is capitalizing on Darth Vader being cool and being a badass without just being like wall to wall, Darth Vader's such a badass, guys. He's such a badass. It's a story where what he does is badass. And I think this is just an excellent addition to the Star Wars canon, and it's kind of become my substitute drug since I'm not digging the new trilogy. By the way, I finally watched The Last Jedi. Zach lost a ton of subs when he said he kind of liked The Last Jedi. I see all the criticisms of The Last Jedi and why that's true. I didn't hate it. Maybe it's because I heard so many criticisms. I went into The Last Jedi expecting like wall-to-wall Jar Jar Binks, and then there was don't get me wrong, there was really stupid stuff in The Last Jedi, but I didn't find myself hating it from the opening scene to the closing scenes. But anyway, these comic books are definitely a good salve if you are just really tired of the new trilogy. So, as I was saying, Darth Vader is doing things that are kind of strategic and cool. And what's really interesting about this to me is that both he and Grand Moff Tarkin had to come off looking cool for this to work. Because if Grand Moff Tarkin's a wuss, then it's nothing if Darth Vader beats him. If Darth Vader wusses out, well, maybe we build up Grand Moff Tarkin. But then the guy who we're buying the book for, Darth Vader, he looks like a putz. So what's interesting about this is Tarkin's not a Force user, but he was a hunter in his youth. He kind of grew up on like this sort of warlike jungle planet, I'm guessing. So he has knowledge of the hunt. So he has over days weakened and sort of crippled Darth Vader's technology and taken his lightsaber away. And he's employed cool bounty hunters. And what's nice about this series is they're evoking good ideas from the Star Wars franchise without being too repetitive. So, cool bounty hunters like Boba Fett, that's a thing. But they don't just throw in some random side character from a movie. They create some cool looking new bounty hunters. There was one little moment where I think a guy said like it as sort of a casual throwaway line. That was the only annoying bit of dialogue from this entire script. So what Grand Moff Tarkin is counting on is that Darth Vader's breathing apparatus is noisy. So these little bat creatures can hear that. But Darth Vader turns off his breathing apparatus and is dying of asphyxiation as he totally wrecks all of Grand Moff Tarkin's bounty hunters. Now, this made me groan a bit, but then there was a neat explanation for it. So Grand Moff Tarkin figures out he's screwed, all of his calculations have failed, so he surrenders and he bows, getting ready for Darth Vader to strike him. And then lightning strikes because Darth Vader stands tall and Grand Moff Tarkin is too low to the ground. And I thought, really? Was his plan really that he was hoping lightning would strike? And I guess the explanation for it is that this ship is producing the lightning that he needed at the precise moment. So at first I thought, oh, come on, Grand Moff Tarkin, you really kept banking on lightning striking Darth Vader, but I think that there's like an in-universe explanation for what's going on. So let's review. There's been this cool hunt where Darth Vader has just completely come off as an imposing, powerful menace. He doesn't really have a military rank. His job is explicitly breaking stuff and killing people that gets in his way. He's a one-man army. So it's easy to see how Darth Vader is cool. But if he won this fight and murdered Grand Moff Tarkin, then the story wouldn't work. So the writing challenge was both of them had to look cool in their own way, even as Darth Vader loses. So he's won because so the twist, I got to explain what the twist is. The twist at the end is that Grand Moff Tarkin owed Darth Vader a favor for doing some special work for him. And Darth Vader explicitly requested that Grand Moff Tarkin try to kill him and give it his best shot. And Tarkin thinks this is a little bit insane, but he pays back his debt. So it's almost like Darth Vader is hurting himself, trying to understand if Grand Moff Tarkin really is a good hunter, or trying to understand if he can become a good hunter. And this works so well for the character of Darth Vader because he is a strong man who is a slave. He is a man with commitment and tactical brilliance and more physical courage. He throws himself into these situations, but he's allowed himself to become a slave of an evil person. So that's the tragedy of Darth Vader. So he's literally hurting himself. He's literally done this to himself. And as Tarkin is now trying to give him aid, then Vader reminds him that he could have killed him at any time. And so even as Tarkin has won his tactical fight with Vader, he's reminded that Vader never thinks of himself as losing. Vader cannot accept defeat. So that's the brilliance of it, is that Vader lost his fight. He didn't kill Grand Moff Tarkin, but even in defeat, Vader's willpower is such that he stuns Tarkin, and Tarkin just thinks how lucky we are to have this beast on our side. It's great. It's capturing everything that's cool and admirable about Vader, his raw willpower, his sort of individual drive that just makes him an imposing presence. But then we're also seeing Vader defeated and crushed. I really think they're doing yeoman's work to fix the original trilogy. Like, it's almost as if this is giving what the original trilogy, not the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy. The prequel trilogy was trying to be about Darth Vader's fall from grace and his fall to the dark side. And I just kind of feel like they whiffed the ball on that one a little bit. And this series is bringing those elements and kind of putting a little bow on the story that George Lucas tried to tell in the prequel trilogy. One of the best standalone comics I've read all year. Great pickup. And I just got completely absorbed in Cameron Coley's art. Cameron Coley also has a little mini story in Star Wars 50. The last time I reviewed the Star Wars comic, I said I just don't like the art style of like the kind of digitally painted heads on top of drawn everything else. But I feel like it's Salvador Larroca. Feel like Salvador Larroca has warmed up to the style a little bit, and it's less bad than it was a year ago. I feel like he's kind of maybe tried to balance things a little bit more. He still spaces things out a lot, and he still uses 3D models, but the art isn't as bad as it was last year, and it's pretty good sort of original trilogy era war stories. The little side story at the end, though, with our boy Cam Coley as the penciler, Cam Smith as the inker. This was a dope little bonus story, and I feel like Cam Coley has become like one of the artists I'm going to pay close attention to, because consistently the compositions are always solid and exciting and immersive. Like, I don't look at Cam Coley and say, oh, well, let's fix this little thing or fix this little thing. I just start reading it and I start getting into it. And I feel like these drawn faces are much more immersive and easier to identify with than these more digitally painted faces. I'm not going to spoil this one because I think you should get it, but it also capitalizes on Darth Vader being cruel and manipulative, and it shows why so many people wouldn't be eager or gung-ho to join the Rebel Alliance. And I think that if you are just feeling sad about the new Star Wars movies, I'd give the Star Wars regular comic a warm recommendation, not like a fiery hot recommendation. Issue 50, especially since it's got the guest art by Cam Coley, I'd recommend that one. And I would just so strongly, highly recommend Darth Vader. Best Marvel comic, hands down, that I'm reading. I'm #1 Marmaduke fan. I love you guys. What did you think of the last? Maybe I'll try to do a review trying to explain what I'm thinking about. Everybody and their cat has done a video on The Last Jedi. Maybe it'd be fun for me to kind of do like a belated think piece on it. But anyway, I'll catch you guys later.